Welcome to the Scoop World Order. We're into week 3 of camp as we are grinding away. We're almost to Indiana. Big scrimmage on Saturday. There really wasn't much of a scrimmage. It was more of a practice. We had a report on that last night. Monday's practice, kind of ugly for the offense. Got a report coming out about that soon. We're going to talk about a potential Las Vegas Big Ten championship game, which I think would be fantastic for the sport and fantastic for the Big Ten. We're going to get into all kinds of other things, take your questions, get all fired up as camp is rolling along, and we're almost to kickoff, ladies and gentlemen. But first, as always, we're very thankful and grateful for you guys tuning in. Thank you guys for being a part of BuckeyeScoop.com. Thank you for being a part of these podcasts. Again, if you enjoy this content, please leave us a like. That does a huge amount for us to catch the algorithm and really let this thing explode. So thank you for doing that. Click subscribe. And also click that little bell so that you guys can be like our regulars and never miss a show and bring back those great questions and all that great fire. Appreciate you guys. And shout out where you guys are watching from. You guys in Florida, West Virginia, Portsmouth, Ohio. You guys are all over the place. We appreciate it. California, Texas, all over the world, really. So it's been really cool to see where you guys are watching from. And I read all those comments, so appreciate that as always. That being said, I'm going to bring in my good friend, Nevadabuck. Nevadabuck, Ryan Day did not name a starting quarterback today. I honestly was not overly shocked by it. But any surprises post-scrimmage? Sad day for Court Williams towards ACL. Again, he's out for the season. But any thoughts on what you've heard the last few days of practice?
Well, it's been interesting. I think the last few days have been kind of telling regarding offensively what Ohio State's trying to do. We talked about this a little bit last night with there just seems to be some confusion regarding what they're doing with the guys on the offensive line and this over reliance upon rotating guys, whether it's to cross train them, cross pollinate them, stress them, put them in different situations or whatever. But this is a directive that's coming from Ryan Day to the offensive line room, and it's just causing some chaos on the offensive line right now because a lot of guys are going out there and being put in spots that for me, I think it's challenging. So it's hard for me to get kind of a read on where the offensive line's at, and that affects everything. That affects everything on the offensive side, and certainly goes up all the way up to quarterback play, because when the offense it starts up front, when the offensive line's shuffling around and they're moving guys in and out, I mean, Tegra, I thought Tegra, I thought the decision was made to move him inside, and then they slide him out to left tackle. And I don't think he's a left tackle, so I'm not sure what he's doing out there. And when that happens, the offensive line kind of falls apart. And so I've just got some concerns. It's been a head scratcher regarding what's going on. And, earlier today, our dear friend Zach Smith came out and called a shot, said he thought that Devin Brown would be the starting quarterback for Ohio State. And I thought that was the longest of long shots and have stated as much. I'd probably say after today's couple interception performance by McCord that it's not as long a shot as it was before he threw a couple more picks. So you can't turn the ball over. You've got to be clean with it. You've got to be the game manager. You've got to be responsible. You've got to put the team in good spots. And if Kyle continues to turn it over, they're gonna go in a different direction regarding quarterback, because turnovers are the devil, and Ryan Day wants to avoid the devil.
Yeah, that's the quickest way to lose games. I mean, turn the ball over, not take care of it. The turnover margin, if you look at who's leading the nation or leading the NFL in turnovers, usually it's the best teams in the league. They're plus in the giveaway takeaway ratio, and our defense is taking the ball away. I mean, they are giving their hands on more footballs than they did last year, which is encouraging. But again, it's rob Peter to pay Paul, because if they're getting picks, that means we're throwing picks. And if there's one thing Ryan Day doesn't like, it's turnovers and interceptions. And honestly, there's going to be regression at quarterback. I mean, I can't imagine one of these guys are as good as Haskins, Fields, Stroud. And I hope that I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong. And if I am wrong, you guys can play this clip forever. But it's hard to be better or at the same level as a guy that went second overall in the draft. It's almost impossible. So, but it's going to be an interesting year. I've never seen anything like the shuffling on the O-line. I've never seen it in the NFL, college, high school. I've never heard of switching guys' sides, left, right tackle. It's bizarre. I think that a guy like Luke Montgomery, I thought for sure he'd be the second team left tackle, leaving behind Jimmy Simmons, and then Tigra is more suited for the right side. He's got major deficiencies in pass protection, and that would terrify me if he was our pass blocking left tackle. So but again, these guys are at practice every day, and they obviously are trying to get something done. I don't know what. Honestly, I think Tigra's more suited to play guard. I would put him inside, and I thought he looked good in limited snaps last year playing guard. But they're trying to left tackle, and they're trying Jimmy Simmons at left tackle, and Luke Montgomery, who played left tackle all spring and really looked good at it. They're switching him to right, so they got to mess with all these guys' stances, their footwork, and it's just really interesting. I mean, I don't think you would tinker with every other position the way you're tinkering with these guys, but hey, I mean, it would be like putting Marvin Harrison as like the blocking tight end or something. I mean, maybe seeing if he can do it. Maybe seeing if he could be an asset and you could get another receiver on the field. I don't know, but this is it's been strange, and predictably when these guys are switching sides to sides that they've never played in the middle of camp, the defense is just whipping them. And I mean, the defensive pass rush is coming along. And on Saturday, I mean, they didn't even scrimmage or it wasn't even really a scrimmage. It was more of a practice. But they had a lot of guys on pitch counts. I mean, like Tommy didn't do much. Steele didn't do much. Jack, JT, they didn't do much. So, it's the Kenyatta Jackson show, and they put Caden Curry in at D tackle a little bit, and they're just trying to find roles for guys to juice up the pass rush, and plus they're short bodies. Tyleek's dinged, Mike Hall's dinged. I mean, Tyleek hasn't practiced in since like the first practice, I don't think. So, he's got to get rolling, because I mean, I'm telling you, there's nothing more terrifying than going to game one and you've missed all of training camp, because you will have zero conditioning, I promise you, and that's something that they're going to have to rectify. Nevada, if you had to project when Ryan Day makes a call on the quarterback, does he go all the way up to kickoff? Does he do the Urban Meyer 2015 with Cardell and JT where it went all the way up to kickoff, and then we saw who ended up being the starter? Or do you think he names it before at the end of training camp? I mean, I can't imagine he has any reason to do it after at least this next Saturday's practice, scrimmage, or whatever, and they end up doing. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm going to continue to monitor that. So I reserve the right to change my mind on my answer. But my answer right now would be like, I think you're gonna name him the week before the Indiana game, so you give him a week of normal prep. But he's going to offer the necessary codicils and conditions that, hey, this is subject to change. We're going to play both guys liberally. We're going to see who's this. This is just the person who's going to take the first snap. Because I think this is very much an open competition. We've talked for a long time about how we thought McCord would most certainly take the first snap, but the question would be, is he going to take the last snap? And I think that's an open question right now. And I was more certain that he would take the first snap yesterday than I am today. Now that could change with a good practice performance next time on the field, but you just can't turn the ball over. And that's, that was the thing that scared me the most about Kyle at the spring game. I know it was a spring game, and I know we've had guys that have come into the spring game and had just looked awful, and went on to, become great, Buckeyes and NFL players and high draft picks. So I'm not, reading everything into the spring game. Having said that, Kyle was really loose with the ball in the spring game, and he can be a lot of things, but he cannot be loose with the ball, because that is a thing that will lose us games and lose us championships and lose us a chance to to be as good as we can be. So I'd say that the name a starter the week of. I'm still thinking it's going to be Kyle, but I think they're going to play both guys a lot, and we'll know more once they play. What we're looking at.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he's going to wait as long as possible to not give any sort of strategic advantage. I think he could do it the week of. He might not even name one and just go into the game, and people will anticipate Kyle McCord taking the first snap. But I think that the thing they got to get settled is the O-line. They got to figure out. I think that they know that they want the first line to be Simmons all the way over to Josh Fryer at right tackle. The two guards have been etched in stone. Center, kind of ongoing. I mean, if you put a gun to my head today, it's probably going to be Carson Hinsman. Victor Cutler and him are both rotating in with the ones. So it's interesting, because you don't got a lot of experience. And, Victor Cutler started some games at a lesser program, but he's never played center. So you're going to have potential issues. You got a lot of guys making starts at new positions, and I think Josh Wright, right tackle, that's where he should have been the whole time. Again, I thought they wasted time playing him at left. I didn't think he had the athleticism to do it. I didn't think he had the footwork to do it. He looked severely uncomfortable in the spring game. And I'm just a spectator. I watch a lot of film, but I also know that, when you're watching a guy struggle out there and all of a sudden he's going against JT or Jack, I mean, it can get ugly in a hurry. And that's why it's curious that they're moving Tigre to left, because I don't think he's ever played left unless he did it at Westerville, the school in Cincinnati, not Westerville South. I was going to say he went to the same place as Brandon Moppett and Sebring, Lakota West. But I don't know. Like it's interesting. I'd put Luke at left tackle for sure. I'd try Fitzpatrick at left tackle. Because Fitzpatrick was the second team left tackle during the spring, so I don't know what's going on with him because he's all of a sudden off the depth chart. But it's going to be really interesting to see where Luke ends up. Does Luke end up as that third tackle, and does he wear the number 41 jersey in the jumbo package? Because it's trending that way. I mean, because he's accelerating, and I mean, I'd be stunned at this point if he doesn't make the two deep when they put out the opening day depth chart. But yeah, it's really interesting. This is a tough week of camp. They came off a long week last week. These guys put in some long days. They don't have 2 days anymore, but they're at the facility still till 9 doing walkthroughs and everything else. So this is the body's feeling miserable. Everything's miserable. They're kind of counting down the hours until they can move out of the hotel on Saturday and get a day off. But yeah, this is the official beginning of the dog days today, tomorrow. Nevada defensively, I mean, we're hearing that they are putting in major work versus this offense to understatement of the century. How do you react when you hear that the defense is dominating the offense? Is it, yay, Jim Knowles? Is it, we're doomed? Because again, that's always kind of the thing is when these guys are practicing and one side's winning convincingly, how do you react to that?
Well, my reaction is I just, it's been a long time since we've had bad offense at Ohio State, and we've seen bad defense. So I'm more excited about the defense. Having said that, I'm totally not surprised. I mean, I've been saying all along I thought the defense would be a team strength, if not the team strength of a loaded Ohio State team this year. Veteran guys all the way across the board. Brought in some key transfer portal additions as well. So not surprised in the least that it's happening. But like you said, it's a zero-sum game. One side looks good, that means the other side looks bad, and that means we got to start worrying about something. But if I'm going to worry about things on my list of worries, worrying about the offense, I'd rather do that than worry about the defense because, we need turnovers, we need impact, and we're getting plenty of those this year with the Ohio State defense in the fall camp. Unfortunately, it's at the expense of our offense.
Yeah, Trey Henderson had a long run in the scrimmage. That was something that I got some intel on, and that's a great sign. Again, I think Trey could have a monster year. I think that they're going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to run the ball and just stick to the run, help this O-line, get his feet under him, get some confidence. Don't just drop back 70 times and have your quarterback get smoked. And honestly, it helps Kyle. It gives Kyle kind of a playoff, and he can just hand it off to Trey, and Trey can do his thing. I'm always curious, when we get these reports about the defense dominating, how often was Zemeka and Marvin watching? Because, those guys are kind of in bubble wrap right now. They don't want them to get hurt. Those guys are 3 and out, top 10 picks after this year. And I know that they're holding guys. I mean, these guys are getting a lot of reps. They're getting more reps now than maybe any training camp in the history of Ohio State just because of the 2-field thing and just, machine gunning out plays, which is, I think it's fantastic to do it, especially with the younger guys. But some of the older guys are probably, ready to button it down a little bit and not have as many reps because their bodies have got to be feeling terrible. But I think you need the data points. I think that, when there's all this depth and all these competitions, not just to be the starter, but to be the backup, you got 2-3 guys competing to be a starter or a backup. You need as much data as possible. You need as many plays as possible. You need to be able to, they grade every single practice, just like it's a game. So if you have a penalty, you get a minus. You get a great block or long catch, or you do your assignment, whatever, and then they put it into a formula and it spits out a grade, and it all is cumulative throughout the entire camp. So when you get to the end of camp and you say, Coach, why am I not the starting left tackle, or why am I not the starting bandit or nickel or corner or whatever. They'll have these analytics ready to go. They'll say, well, you graded out at 72% and Davison Igbinosun graded out at 85%. So based on that and just general feel, he's going to be the starter. And I'm not saying it always goes like that, but these coaches love having data so they can back things up. And again, like when the parents show up and they're upset about a kid, their little Johnny not playing or their little, their son not playing, they have these files ready to go where they'll say, hey, well, your son had 7 loafs this day and missed 6 tackles in the scrimmage, and here's the little sheet and here's all the clips of film. And I mean, Urban was a master of that. Anytime these parents showed up, man, they better be ready because he's got the file ready to go. And it was always interesting to see how some of the parents would leave with the tail between their legs because they'd be like, man, my son said he was balling and he really wasn't. Nevada, on the offensive line, are you, I know you're never worried about the O-line. I'm not worried about the O-line personally because I love how the schedule sets up with 3 games that are lesser opponents. Like we don't open with Notre Dame. We don't open with a megaton opponent. We're opening with Indiana. 1 to 10, how nervous are you? 10 being the most nervous, 1 being not nervous at all about the starting offensive line.
I mean, here's what I'm concerned about. The only thing I'm concerned about on the offensive line is what they're doing to the offensive line. I don't like what they're doing. I've never seen it before. I've never seen it done at any level of football. I've never seen it done with any team that I've watched, been a part of, or had any opportunity to observe. So I am perplexed by what they're doing. I like the players. I like the players. I like the guys. I think if they would just settle into spots and put the guys in there, I think they're going to be just fine. But for some reason, and make no mistake, this is a Ryan Day thing. This is not a Justin Fry thing. This is a Ryan Day thing. They're moving guys around like Sherman through Georgia, and it's a crazy time on the O line right now. And for the O line guys, I know that it's frustrating as well as confusing as well as perplexing. So yeah, they're in there battling the best that they can, but they're not a cohesive unit right now. But I'm not sure that's I am sure that it's not their fault, and I think they got to get that together because it's definitely a weird situation right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, they gotta pull the trigger and just get rolling, and they got to figure out who they want as their first O line and their first quarterback, and they got to start working together and getting that cohesion down again. Like the shuffling of players left and right is maddening. I couldn't imagine being one of these tackles, and I get you want to cross train them and have guys do multiple things, but I mean, we've wasted reps and practices with Josh Fryer at left tackle and to move him back to right tackle, and we've wasted reps of because here's the thing, none of these guys are good enough to cross train. You can do that maybe after you're established, but you gotta pick a spot and just go and let these guys learn it and master one spot because none of them are good enough to play both sides with different guards and whatever. So it's really interesting stuff. Talk a little bit about the potential of the Big Ten championship game being in Las Vegas because I think that'd be fantastic. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Well, look, I think it's kind of a recognition that the Big Ten's a different conference than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I mean, it's not this little Midwestern, 3 yards in a cloud of dust conference. I mean, we are truly a national, the most national coast to coast conference in America right now. And I think playing a game in a high profile city like that, like Las Vegas, if they pulled it off, would be fabulous. And to the people that are like, oh, I'm not sure people will come. Oh, people will come.
No, come
I mean,
on.
like Las Vegas is just like loaded with Midwestern fans in general, and Big Ten fans and Ohio State fans, and all over up and down the West Coast. Let alone everybody that would come from the rest of the country. So, look, I think the game would be a great spectacle. The stadium there, just the finest stadium in the world right now, and that's what the Big Ten deserves. I mean, there's nothing magical about playing in Indiana and saying, oh, it's at least it's part of our footprint. Well, our footprint right now for the Big Ten is the entire United States. We go from Southern California to Washington to Rutgers. We're coast to coast. So why not play it in the entertainment capital of the world as the leading entertainment conference in the world? I think it'd be a great marriage. I think it'd be a great fit for the Big Ten, and I think it'd be an absolutely blast for everybody to come to every year, and I certainly would be there.
I think Vegas is the greatest city in the world for hosting events because there's just so many hotels, all price points. I mean, you can get a room for $12 or $12,000. I mean, you're all in the same street. You can walk to the stadium. Like I said, anybody at any price point can have a blast in Las Vegas. There's a ton of direct flights from Columbus, assuming that we make it, every year, every other year or so. Yeah, and nobody gets excited to go to Indianapolis. Everybody gets excited to go to Vegas. So I think it'd be fantastic. I think that it pulls, it kind of throws a bone to our new compadres from the Pac-12, Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA. But I just think that, that's a place where it's a destination. Like Indianapolis is not a destination. Like it's an armpit. Nobody wants to go there. But if you can go to Vegas, it's exciting. And I know there's one thing I know about Ohio people, they love Vegas because you can't ever find a flight that isn't full that's a direct flight. They're always full. So I think it'd be fantastic. I think that Boom Boom better get his mind right, our boy. So because we're gonna be owning that thing. It's gonna be a blast. Bennett Christian popped for something, some over-the-counter supplement, allegedly GNC. Nevada, were you shocked by that? I can't remember the last time we've had a guy get a 1-year suspension off of a PED at Ohio State. I mean, I know guys that had weed suspensions after they had 3 failures, but I feel bad for the kid. I mean, if he really did take something over the counter from GNC with his buddies, which I don't know him at all, but that's what he's claiming. But your thoughts on that? Because that's something like I don't think I've seen that in forever. Yeah, I can't think.
The only thing that would have been more shocking would have been like a positive COVID test or something like that, yeah, getting banged for a year though. That's the weird part about it. It was weird enough that there was a bang for a PED, but then to be suspended for a year, that was legit odd. And I just felt that there had to be more to the story or more to what was going on, because that just does not make any. It's contrary to everything that I'm familiar with and about how these things work. I don't think you get banged a year for your first offense for an over-the-counter supplement that you got from GNC. That does not sound right to me. I'm not questioning the story. I'm just saying, to me, I feel like there's probably more to the story, and so I don't want to speculate because I think that's probably unfair to everybody involved, but that it just seems like there might be more to that story.
Something that's interesting to me is I was surprised that we announced it and made like this big deal of it, because I don't know if we really have to. Like if he just didn't play this year, it probably would have been under wraps. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can think of one guy that I knew for sure got popped for it, and they just said he had a knee injury, and then that was it. And then it was never brought to light that that's what they got popped for, juice or whatever. But it was interesting that they made it a big spectacle at the press conference, because it's not like he's Marvin Harrison. I mean, if Bennett Christian doesn't play, I don't think anybody would notice, just because, let's be real, he's behind Joe Royer, Cade for sure, maybe G. Scott, Jelani might play, might not. It depends on if he ratchets it up a little bit. But if Bennett Christian didn't play this year, I don't think anybody would even notice. But Ryan Day came out and announced it, and 1-year suspension, and that was kind of peculiar to me, because I don't know if it's mandated that he does it, or if the NCAA puts out a release, because it had to have been an NCAA failure. It wasn't an Ohio State failure. It had to be an NCAA mandated drug test that he failed. So again, I don't know. I feel bad for the kid, obviously, just because I'm sure he wasn't. But again, I don't know. But it's just like, it's a terrible mistake. It's embarrassing, I'm sure. It'll be interesting to see if he sticks around, I mean, for the next year, because I mean, it sucks. He's got to hang out there and stand on the sideline and watch his boys play when he was trying to make that leap and be the next tight end. And it really gives Jelani Thurman a huge chance to jump and go, So it'll be interesting to see if Jelani can block the way we need him to block. And Joe Royer's been dinged up, so it's kind of been like Cade and G. Scott at tight end and Jelani. So a lot of opportunity there for a young freshman in Jelani Thurman. Well, good to wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts, Nevada? We got a lot of good intel today. Like I said, the practice was not great today by the offense, but, we're going to get into that. We're going to have a little report up on BuckeyeScoop.com. Any final thoughts, Nevada?
No, just yeah, I think things are changing rapidly every day. So I think things we could say today we might change tomorrow. And like I said, I always reserve the right to change my mind. That quarterback position is fluid right now, and we need to find some answers. We need to find some answers there. And on the O line, that was the two question marks we had coming into the season. They certainly remain question marks right now, and going to be one of the great stories to follow here this next 17 days leading up to kickoff.
Totally agree. Can't wait to get rocking on BuckeyeScoop.com. As always, we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We had a lot of intel over the last 3 days, trying to bring it all to you guys so you can disseminate it. We have a bunch of new updates on BuckeyeScoop.com. If you guys want the inside intel on what's going on in training camp, time to join BuckeyeScoop.com. It is the best companion for your college football experience. We love it on there. Huge message board presence. Really a clean board, fun place to hang out. So we appreciate you guys. As always, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, and also click the little alert bell. You'll get an alert every time we go live. So I get to see all you regulars in here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. And thank you, Scoop family. Be sure you shout out where you're from. I read that in the comments. I always appreciate it. Go Bucks.